Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we are answering your questions in our Q&A. So if you're ready to get your questions answered, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
That was lackluster.
I know.
Aww.
I'm trying, you guys.
Okay.
I got sick with what everyone had in Mexico. And I think we all do this in our minds. We think, oh, I'm only going to be sick for this amount of days. So then I had my niece's 21st birthday this weekend, and we had our annual NFL. Everyone meets up at my old bar I used to work at it's like a tradition. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, I need to get better. And I've already been sick for X amount of days. So I should be better by now, right? Yeah. So I go and I get an IV, and I actually did feel better after the IV. I got an IV with all, B12, B6, glutathione, vitamin C, zinc. And then I got oxygen, a little oxygen thing. Mm-hmm. And they put me in this chair. It was so nice. And I signed up for their monthly membership. So it's I need to do this all the time. So I did that and I felt better. So I went out for my niece's thing, which was real boring. Uh-oh. We played bingo at the casino, Ew. But it was real bingo, not fun bingo. Sometimes they have the glow in the dark bingo. They yelled at us for, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. They yelled at us for talking above a whisper.
Oh God.
I'm not joking. But my niece has some medical issues. So I wore the funniest outfit because I had this scarf around my neck that I would just put up whenever I was coughing or whatever. So I looked like I had a hat on with this scarf and I wore boots. I played the whole part. So then I'm okay, I feel okay. I woke up yesterday and actually felt okay yesterday. I still took medicine and I'm okay, I can get through this. I'm going to feel better after this. Mm-hmm. And then around I didn't even finish the Raiders game. I was I got to go home. Yeah, I went home and I fell asleep immediately and did not wake up until Mark's you've got to eat something. And I was okay. So I'm going to go get sandwiches from the little store by our house. I was okay. Meatball sub sounded amazing because I was, you want that comfort food. Yeah. I sat and looked at it. I was I can't eat this. And I put it back in the fridge and went back to sleep.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I was maybe socializing this weekend was not a good idea. I tried real hard though. So that's where I'm at. And that's why we are not together, because you do not want this.
No, and we're supposed to go to Amarillo this weekend for Papa's birthday.
I know. We can't definitely can't give it to Papa.
Yeah, this would not be the time to give it to Papa.
No. When do you guys leave?
We don't leave till Saturday.
Okay. That's why you were
we leave Saturday. And then Monday I come back. I think we land at 11 or something. That's why I was we don't have to reschedule.
But we can always do Friday too.
Oh yeah. If we want. Whatever. It depends on how you figure it out.
I should be better by then. If I'm not better by then, I'm going to the doctor. Really, This is ridiculous. I have it. So here's something for our listeners. So the week of the trip, I worked out. I didn't work out because I had so much, I was planning, I had to go get shirts. Yeah. And then busy just with seeing clients. So I did, I walked every day and I did yoga when I was at the hotel. So I didn't work out. And then last week I did two workouts, and most tried to walk. So the beginning of the week I got into movement and then nothing. Ooh. And I walked on the treadmill yesterday morning and I was that's the longest mile I've ever walked in my life. So I haven't worked out after a vacation and I'm hungry. Well, I was hungry. Now I'm not hungry. So it's kind of doing this thing. I would text you. I'm I'm so hungry because my body was trying to fight this thing. And now it's just succumbed to it. So I texted me and I said, tell me it's okay to be so ravenous. I wanted, it wasn't even just comfort food. I wanted quick energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I recognized that. So I tried pregnant. Yeah.
It sounds like you're like, I'm like, yeah, this is how I feel all the time. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is another reminder of why I didn't reproduce.
Yeah.
This sucks.
It does
But
suck.
how are you feeling?
So it's really interesting. Overall, I had a good weekend, but I did some blood work on Thursday because for thyroid, they want you to do blood work at least every trimester. And so I just do it every month just to make sure. And so I had some that were due. And I had messaged my doctor a couple weeks ago being like, I'm just like really tired, like fatigue, not like like I could sleep a lot, but even sleeping doesn't cure. It's like sick tired, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
because I'll like wake up at 5 and then by like 7, I'm like, whoa, like okay, I could go back to bed. And I was like, I don't know if that's normal because I'm pregnant or like something like maybe because I told her a little bit about like I'm having trouble eating more, like because I don't really want to eat more, not necessarily because I'm like trying to avoid weight gain, but just because like nothing sounds good, right? And I'm so tired of eating every 2 to 3 hours. So, and I was like, and then I had gotten off the vitamin D. And so I was like, maybe like because I'm not taking that anymore, this is actually the effect of it too. So and then I told her my anxiety is getting a little like heightened at night. And so I was like, again, is it like just because I'm pregnant or I don't know? And so she's like, well, let's test some stuff. So I got my results back. She texted me yesterday. And my iron is apparently super low. And
Interesting.
I know, because she's like, that's interesting considering how much you eat when you eat. Yeah. So now I had emailed the OBGYN my like results and whatnot. Yeah, my like iron saturation, ferritin, and all that is low. And so I had emailed him like, this is what's happening. She wants me to take an iron supplement, thoughts, concerns, etc. So I'm waiting to hear back from them. So it's
you have a male doctor, male OBGYN?
Yeah, which I've never had a male OBGYN before. So I'm really diving into a male seeing my vagina who's not in love with me.
Yes. It's always weird to me. I don't know why it was easier to go to like a female.
Oh yeah, I don't know because I'm like, oh, they got the lady bits, Well,
Right.
I think because you start going to the OBGYN when you're like 15-ish, right?
Yeah.
And so like at 15, do you really want to be seeing a male,
No.
And then, yeah, correct. So yeah, it's
really not.
It's because there's some other questions I have that are more female focused, but I'm like, I need to just ask him instead of like not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have low iron, but so that's how I feel. So I'm excited
crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited to try and do something about it because it's like, again, I'm obviously getting through the day and doing things, but it's just like, oh.
Right. I know.
Yeah. So
I understand.
Yes.
We're just trying to get through it, y'all. So
yes. But this weekend was good. Friday, I coincidentally had like a self-care day, which I was not anticipating doing, but yay. And then Saturday, Nicole came over, did pictures. And so
talk about what you were working on, because for those who follow you, saw your day in the life. So are you just having those for marketing pictures? Or?
Yeah, well, I figured because she hasn't taken pictures, or I haven't had pictures since we did some with Michelle for the group. And then before that, like I haven't had any since I like really started, and the gym has changed a lot since I've started. And I kind of figured because she's going to do my maternity ones with Michael. And then I was like, I should just have her do like some updated ones where I'm preggers.
Yeah.
And so like more for marketing, more for us, like new, just like updated ones. But you know what? It's so funny because I don't remember this with Michelle when she did ours, but it must've been a thing. So when you're doing the pictures, you have to use a lighter weight, than you think you could do. Because for her, she has me go really slow. Yeah. And so it's like a workout for 4 hours while she's doing the pictures. And I'm like, oh my God. So we forgot about that. And then I was like, oh yeah, we have to do lighter.
Well, if you look at all the ones Michelle does, it's literally these like 5-pound weights that just look bigger that I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I was like, I got the adjustables and I like first grabbed 10s and I was like, oh no, like we're just going to do 5s. And then even like with the barbell stuff, I was like, let's just do 55 pounds on like a back squat. But it like burns and you're like, oh my gosh. And I
Well,
also
for those out there, that's a good lesson that if you don't have high weights, you just slow down the movements and
yes,
it gets harder.
yes. Like, cause even she's like, oh yeah, I saw you were doing the day in the life. And she saw that I like had posted going into the gym for the morning to work out. And she goes, I hope you remembered not to work out because of last time. And I was like, oh no, I like just did mobility because I
Yeah.
remembered like last time it was like, oh my God, why did I work out before I did this? But I also thought, because we have been talking about like on our butt episode of how people
Our butt stuff.
our butt stuff, how people pose in a certain way or like manipulate their bodies, that we should try and find somebody that's like a marketing person to interview on how they kind of I don't want to say manipulate because that's not the right, but like how they are able to use psychology and marketing to target women. You know what I mean? Like the behind the scenes of that, and like how they alter pictures to like capture. And then that way that feeds on like okay, I need to like change my body.
Yeah. One of my really good friends is in marketing, in social media marketing. She doesn't do a lot of influencers, but I ask her because we were going to have her come on and talk about like mental health and social media.
Oh, is this the Stassi?
Cynthia?
Yeah, Cynthia.
Stassi.
Oh, perfect. Then. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'll see if she can do that or someone else. But yeah, it's a whole thing.
Wow.
And when you take photos, guys, you think you look more like when I'm cut, you think you look leaner, and then you see the photos and you're like, why don't I look as lean?
Yeah.
Like it's so like, you have to get super fucking lean to like even see it on a picture. It's insane. It's insane.
And on top of that too, like the lighting and the way they edit the pictures too, because I was like thinking about all this while she was taking, because obviously Nicole and Michelle, and so Nicole's the gal that I usually have do my photos. Michelle's the one that usually does your photos for the audience that's listening. They have two very different styles of pictures as well. And and both, I love both of them. Yeah. Right. But it was like, oh my gosh, like just even the difference in how they edit, like, and then there's so many in betweens and ways to manipulate how we look in those situations too.
Yeah. Always something to learn for those looking at social media or any sort of marketing. It's all a mess. It's all, photoshopped, edited, all of that. So good. Yeah, it's been a crazy week. I hope you guys are still listening, even though we have no energy. Combined energy for the two of us is 50%.
We're working on it.
But we're here for the people.
Yes.
We are here for the people. I literally canceled my entire day. I did not have any other meeting except for this.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I saw that. I saw that on the group.
Yeah. I was like, that's all I was going to go over. So, it is what it is. Anyhow, we've got some questions to answer. Our Q&A. Hey. For those who don't know, every Sunday, one of us will put up a post to ask questions, and we get all the answers. We love when you guys participate in that. Like I did one last Monday about themes for podcast episodes, and we are actually going to be using those themes for our episodes. So I'm very excited. But you want to get into it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Right. All right. First one is, I've been eating better, drinking more water, actively trying to get more protein, doing home workouts every day, plus walking at least 3 to 4 miles, 3 to 4 times a week. At first, I'm almost down 3 pounds, but weighed myself and I'm back to my starting weight. What am I doing wrong? Yeah. Well, there's a few things here. We have to remember that in an effort to lose weight, we have to be in a calorie deficit.
Right.
And we can make changes to our food and eat better, as she's saying. So we don't have a lot of information here about what does eating better look like. Is that tracking food? Oh, when we're tracking food, are we tracking it on a scale? Like, are we positive that we're in that calorie deficit? Because that literally is the only way you're going to lose weight on this scale, right?
Right.
And so I want to know, what does eating better look like? Now, everything that she's saying they're all wonderful habits to have no matter what. And even if the scale goes down, that's no reason to not do what she's doing. We may even add a couple rest days here for sure. But That's number one for me. What is your input?
My
First and
input
foremost.
is like you said, the eating better, but even like actively trying to get more protein. Does she understand because a lot of times we have women who are misguided on what protein actually is. So like if
Mm-hmm.
she adding more peanut butter, thinking
Right.
it's a protein, but it's actually putting her in a calorie maintenance or surplus because of
Mhm.
the amount,
Right.
So
Well, you
like
have
I
to be a lot of peanut butter to get a good amount of protein, but then
yes.
you're getting way too much fat.
Yes. And then I would also say, so you focus more on the nutrition part. And yeah, I agree. I do like the movement activity, but the home workouts every day, like, are those structured in a way to build muscle in my first sense? But even at first, I lost almost 3 pounds. That tells me that was probably more water weight just from
Mm-hmm.
eating better, right? So maybe she had some inflammation going on or reduced her carb intake. And so that would change the water weight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I would also say, uh, how this is hard to because of it's so light, but without diving too much in, is how long has it been?
Right.
'Cause at first I lost almost 3 pounds. So like the first week, the first 3 weeks, the first month, and then I just weighed myself and I'm back to starting weight. And so then my question is this just a one time frame of
Time
the
weight.
weight? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it just today or
I
is
was
it in
thinking
your
that too.
weekly average?
Right.
And so
Which I doubt.
yes, I doubt too. It's probably
Yeah.
just the one time. And also, where are we in our cycle? Like, if we're not
Mm-hmm.
on birth control and we have a natural cycle, like if you're about to start your period or you're on your period, it's going to go up too.
Right. And that's really important, you guys. I know that for some people, weighing themselves daily is not, it can be triggering. But
Mhm,
for those of you that, well, if it's triggering, we need to understand why.
mhm.
But it really is the proper way to understand the fluctuations in your weight, depending on where you're at, like Amanda said, in your cycle. But it also gives us an average because we need to understand that weight on the scale is a snapshot in time. And
Right.
some days it'll be up, some days it'll be down, some days it'll stay the same for a couple of days. And if we take a weekly average, we can see, what we've done overall, right? Because we have highs and lows and it'll average out. It's really, really important, especially when you're in a fat loss phase, to make sure that we are weighing daily, same time of the day,
Mhm.
preferably first thing in the morning, dry, like after we've gone to the bathroom. Now, for some people like me, I don't go number 2 until after coffee. So I just take the weight before number 2.
Yeah, which is fine too. So even like, for example, from my own on Wednesday, I weighed 165.8. Okay,
Mhm.
so then I could say, oh, like that's the weight, right? That's a 3 pound loss that like this gal's talking about. And then on
Mhm.
Thursday, I weighed 167. And
Right.
so it's like, did I literally gain 2 pounds? No. But then the following Friday, I weighed 166.
Right. And
So
you take
that's,
the average.
yeah. So then we're taking the average of the week, which actually came out to 166.5.
Right.
Um, so
So
something to
yeah,
consider.
for listeners, what we would do here is we want to know how we're tracking food.
Mhm.
Obviously, the best way or the most accurate way to get into a calorie deficit is using a food scale and a food tracker. If that's not what you want to do, then my suggestion is always, if we're going to eat without tracking our food, we need to listen to our bodies. For a lot of people, they've never done that before.
Right.
So probably just want to start with listening to our bodies in a maintenance, which is I eat until I'm pleasantly full. I don't need to unbuckle my pants, but I also can't get up and do 10 jumping jacks.
Right.
So then once we have a good relationship with listening to our bodies, we can now bring it down to I eat where I can do 10 jumping jacks,
Mhm.
physically checking in. And the 10 jumping jacks to being pleasantly full without being able to do jumping jacks, but still being able to move freely are only a few bites difference. Okay. Like it's not a whole nother meal. It's maybe 3 to 5 bites
Mhm.
difference.
Mhm.
And so that if you're not someone who's going to track food, we need to, have that connection with our body, listen to our hunger and fullness cues. We probably don't want to do that and be in a deficit. We want to do that first, then scale back on the portion sizes by reducing the amount of bites. Then also weighing ourselves daily to see any trends. And once you do that from a weekly perspective and then a monthly perspective, it's a game changer. I had a client who's like, I just got up to my highest weight I've ever been. I'm like, well, where are you in your cycle? She's like, oh, I bleed in 6 days. I'm like,
Mhm.
or it was like 5 days. She's like, I've never tracked that before. I'm like, yeah, it's helpful. And then I would give yourself some rest days. So walking, and then just see how it averages out over time. Like I said, this is no reason to let go of these habits. Drinking more water, getting more protein, making better choices, walking, strength training. These are all wonderful things, no matter what the scale is saying. Because we didn't even talk about this. I've been weighing myself since being sick. I have gained like 6 pounds.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm so inflamed and like gross.
Well, and so let's backtrack though too for the listeners, because you've literally not been able to eat just because of food aversions and you don't feel good. So where would the pounds be coming from? You know what I mean?
It's kind of crazy. Like it's I saw one of the highest weights I've seen in a long time. And I was like, oh my gosh.
But that would be times 6. You would have to have 21,000 extra calories.
Right. On top of like 30 or not 30,000 maybe. What is your like? Yeah, I would say my main is probably 2,500. So
yeah. So plus
that's a lot of calories
times 7. So yeah,
I went back down today. Yeah. I do this thing where I'm like, let's see how much weight, like I should have documented it for you guys.
That would have been good.
Because the weight went up after the trip and then it kept going up. And I was like, I did take a picture from when I like the trip and I was like, oh, I'm going to show how it comes back down. Yeah. And then it didn't. I was like, oh, interesting. But I definitely have not even eaten at maintenance at all. Any day. Like, even when I was hungrier, I was definitely not eating at maintenance. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would give. Anything else for that person?
No, I think we've kind of love bombed her enough.
Yes. All right. This is a great question. We should probably put people's names on these.
Yes.
How long should my workouts be? I tend to spend about 30 minutes if I'm hitting a specific area, usually about 25 minutes for cardio days because I can't run that long. And then on full body workout days, I spend about an hour and 20 minutes. I have a 5-day. I work out 5 days a week. How much time do you have?
Well, but it's a little conflicting, right, too, because I spend about 30 minutes if I'm hitting a specific area. So if we're going to go for a full hour and 20, is that essentially 3 exercises then? You know what I mean?
What do you mean? 3 workouts, you mean?
So she says, I tend to spend about 30 minutes if I'm hitting a specific area. So does that mean, so for example, she's just doing legs. Is she just focusing on legs for 30 minutes?
Right.
And then out of that hour and 20? But to me, this is like
no full body days are an hour and 20. Specific days are 30. So the problem is programming.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. To me, this is a programming issue.
Right.
Like, what are your goals? And right. Also, an hour and 20 minutes is kind of a long workout, in my opinion.
I'd work out for about that with a cool down and warm up.
Yeah, I would say but 5 days a week you do it.
Well, and that's what we need to know is how many days are targeted, how many days are full body.
Yeah.
If you're working out 5 days a week, what I would do is always have it split.
Yes.
So I would do like chest, triceps, biceps, back, shoulders, quads, hamstring, not in this order. I would separate legs, uppers and lowers. Mm-hmm. And then your 5th day could be a targeted day. So like we talked about in the build your glutes, maybe it's a glute focused day, maybe it's a full body day. But if you're working out 5 days a week, you can split up into specific body parts.
Yes.
If you don't need to work out 5 days a week, I would just do 3 full body days at like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yes.
And then use those other days off to, like, if you want to do 25 minutes of cardio for cardiovascular health, you can. If you want to walk, you can. But this sounds like I'm throwing whatever against the wall and seeing if it sticks type of workout.
Well, and honestly,
we don't like.
No, we don't like, but also the question of how long should my workouts be? Tell me this might be someone who's newer too. Mm-hmm. And so is a 5 day a week thing just like, okay, I'm ready to get my body. And so I'm diving headfirst into this instead of finding like, what are her bare minimums and starting from there too.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my other question.
You have to remember, guys, this is so important. So important. we want to start where we can move up. We don't want to start at the top. So if you're just trying to get your bearings when it comes to a workout schedule, then let's start with 2 or 3 and see how consistently you can do that. Then when you have an event coming up, we can always add, 3 to 4. That's much more sustainable. If we start at 5 and we plateau at 5, we don't have much. I'm not going to add 6 workouts in a week. That's insanity. And, again, that's not sustainable. So really looking at what in this person's case, if she has 5 days a week, I would do a split, 45 to 60 minutes. And again, a split would be chest, triceps, biceps, quad focus day, back and shoulders, and then hamstring glute focus day. And then your 5th day could be optional targeted. So glute targeted, shoulder targeted, or full body.
Yep.
That's how I'd work that. So good. Okay. Next question. Does whey protein or protein shakes cause weight gain?
Ooh.
Seriously?
No. The answer is no, unless you have, I would say, like a dairy intolerance to the whey. And
then you're going to get
become bloated. Yeah.
Right.
But
nothing causes weight gain unless you eat in a calorie surplus.
Correct.
The end.
Yes.
Now, we're talking about fat, like gaining body fat. If you eat in a calorie surplus and you eat like an a-hole, you will gain body fat. Again, on the scale, you could gain scale weight if we're bloated.
Yes.
Or retaining water like me. Retaining a ton of water right now. It doesn't feel that way, but I am. I want to feel like I'm really hydrated, but everything is dry.
I know. What if
everything is dry?
Would that help you? Just like
I read that in like studies that it doesn't. There's nothing that like from a could you feel better standpoint?
Yeah.
Yes, but like there's nothing that asana does to actually help a cold. Yeah. I would actually look that up because everyone's like, do the sauna, the neti pod. I've been doing the neti pod. I did the IV. I did Sudafed.
Yeah.
Trying everything.
Not at all.
Yeah. I'm just sick. All right. This one's for you, my dear. Yeah. So to answer your question, no, protein shakes do not make you gain weight.
Nope.
You'd probably have to drink a shit ton of them and then you would be very bloated.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is a misconception out there that protein causes that. Whey protein specifically can be harder to digest.
Right.
And that can cause bloating. So that just make sure we answer the question.
Yes.
All right. For my prego mommy, I'm 6 months pregnant and was just diagnosed with gestational diabetes. What are some good low carb pastas or pasta alternatives? I would like to still be able to enjoy spaghetti nights with my boys, but spaghetti squash just jacked up my blood sugars. Interesting.
I know. Interesting. Well, how would she, unless has a CGM, how would she know that?
She might.
That's interesting. Okay. I'm just surprised that the spaghetti squash and not the actual spaghetti did. So low carb pasta options. So spaghetti squash jacked up your blood sugars. I'd be curious to see what like zucchini noodles did then too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because spaghetti squash and zucchini are they're not like a banana has a lot of sugar and apples compared to those. So low carb pasta alternative. So again, spaghetti squash, but she already learned that doesn't suit with her. Zucchini noodles you can buy. There's actually butternut squash noodles too, but again, depends on how your body tolerates that. Pasta alternatives. So there is, you could do like gnocchi, which is essentially potato and flour. That'll work.
Get the cauliflower gnocchi as well from
cauliflower gnocchi.
Trader Joe's.
Also, the brand is called Explore Cuisine, and it's at Sprouts. I know that, but I'm sure you could get it on Amazon. But they have protein pasta, and it's actually like packed with protein, and they have an edamame black bean and a red lentil kind of based one. Then there's the chickpea based pastas as well. You could do that. That's about all. I mean, they have, I'm trying to think. Can you forget anything that you would recommend?
No. I mean, for a pasta alternative, those are great alternatives. But you can also, you can enjoy a dish that is even just full of veggies.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the tomatoes sauce that
That's
she's
what I
using
was
that's
thinking.
causing a
It's
blood sugar
like,
spike.
because and I'm also like, this is another question. I agree with the tomato sauce, because if you don't look at the labels on those things, they have a lot of sugar. But the other question I thought of, are you just having spaghetti and tomato sauce? Like, is there a protein in here?
Right.
Too?
Yeah.
So if we have the protein first, and protein like doesn't have to be meatballs necessarily. It could be like literally ground beef, ground chicken, ground turkey, or something like that.
Yeah.
That makes it like a meat sauce per se.
Mhm.
So I wonder if we started kind of with that more so, then switch to the spaghetti squash with the tomato sauce, if that would change the outcome of the jacking up the blood sugars too.
Mhm. I would say that is probably
Well, and
exactly
even
what.
I would say, even if you are having a low carb pasta or a pasta alternative with just the sauce, you need to add a protein, because that's just a carb bomb anyways.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that'll definitely
No,
change blood sugar levels.
agree.
Yeah.
Agree. And well, and I know you say too, like the Mediterranean diet is really helpful in pregnancy, which
Yes.
obviously will, help reduce a lot of, lower carb, higher fats, higher proteins, which will help manage insulin levels as well.
Mhm.
So I would just say to that person, trying to follow the Mediterranean diet would be super helpful in general. So
Yeah.
good. All right. One question from our group from when I posted Q&As
Yeah.
was, I'd like suggestions on controlling cortisol, please. I have all of the symptoms. Now, I want to talk about what symptoms of high cortisol are.
Mm-hmm.
So waking up between 2 and 3 in the morning and having trouble falling asleep, low libido, obviously higher anxiety, higher just mood swings in general. Even inflammation, cortisol can cause inflammation in the body. So feeling like your rings and stuff, your hands are tighter, your feet are tighter, fatigue, but obviously you're not getting enough sleep. So we're going to have fatigue and higher cravings for foods as well.
Mm-hmm.
Would you add anything to that?
Moodiness, irritability, hair loss.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head.
So there are a few things that we want to look at when managing cortisol. So lifestyle wise, number one is looking at what's causing stress on our body.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main culprits is not eating enough. Not eating enough food will cause so much stress on your body. On top of, you don't have the energy. We have to remember that energy comes from food, but that energy we get from food is there to not just give us physical energy. That's what people associate food energy with, but emotional boundaries need energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cognitive awareness requires energy. The ability to stop and, rewrite or reframe your thinking requires energy. So if we're not eating enough, that puts our body in a stress state. Plus, we're not giving ourselves enough energy to manage what's going on, to be aware of what's going on. We kind of just we're floating around with this brain fog and this energy fog, or emotion fog, I should say. And so not eating enough is a huge one. Obviously, checking in with yourself and learning stress management skills. I talked to a client last week and I said, at the end of the day, you're just every stress, you blow air into a balloon, right? You just think of yourself, every stress throughout the day is blowing this balloon up. And what we end up doing is we just let it go at the end of the day and it just flies everywhere, right? And that usually makes us end up in the pantry or doing something that's not in alignment with our goals.
Feisty with our significant other too, kind of short-tempered.
Right, exactly. So if we can let that air out throughout the day, well, it's still going in, but we slowly allow that air to come out by doing a 5-minute, breath work, going outside, getting some sunshine, maybe going for a walk, even if you're at work, like a walk just around your office building.
Yep.
YouTube has really, really great free mindfulness practices, breathwork practices, tapping practices, progressive muscle relaxation. Learning those stress management skills is going to help you with managing cortisol levels. So we want to feed ourselves, we want to fuel ourselves properly. We want to take care of our mental health, right? Obviously, getting some movement in will be
Mhm.
helpful as well, right? Just getting some sunshine is helpful as well. That'll help manage cortisol. What else? What do you think you would add to
Well, I
that?
was going to say when you say movement, it means like well structured, not just like hit the guns running and try and die movement too.
Right.
Like sometimes when I see like I have high cortisol or like these cortisol coaches and stuff, I'm like, well, at some point your cortisol should rise naturally. That's
Hmm.
normal. And then it should
Yes.
taper off throughout the day. But if we're constantly in this like high cortisol kind of almost like a hamster wheel, and then you're trying
Hmm.
to like manage your stress through exercise, you're only compounding that too. And
Right.
so the
Yeah.
hardest thing for these types of clients usually to do is to back off because the
Hmm.
stress is the reliever of the workout is a reliever of the stress, but not really. So
Right.
I did want to touch
Yeah.
on that.
Exercising too much and too hard can definitely be a bigger stressor. So
Mhm.
finding that balance. The other thing it's too, guys, like prolonged fasting
Mhm.
can cause stress on the body as well. So
Mhm.
we might be eating enough, but we're eating in small windows. I know a lot of, there's I was reading something today about like the fast like a girl,
What?
Dr. Peck, I think her name is.
What?
There's this fasting. The women that I turn to about nutrition, especially in midlife, fasting just shows, if we're not doing it correctly. She does it with the cycle, this woman,
Oh.
and that it actually can cause much more stress on the body. Not eating whole foods can also cause stress on the body because we're not getting the vitamins and minerals that we need to help calm us down. And so, not eating a lot of processed foods, and then obviously having too much coffee can also cause high stress levels. So, it is suggested trying to get some sunlight on your face because that's when cortisol is high in the morning. Then maybe 60, 90 minutes after waking, having coffee, if that would be the last thing I would change. But first things I would change is obviously your stress management skills and beginning a practice around that. Eating enough foods and eating throughout the day to, manage your blood sugar, making sure we're not working out too much or too hard, but also enough. So kind of finding your Goldilocks zone. And at the end of the day, like, trying to manage caffeine or any other things that are causing you to feel even more anxious.
Yeah. So I got a couple things too. So I
Mhm.
looked up this book. And it says the right steps to teach you how to go from eating all day to intermittent fasting 13 to 15 hours. And I want clients to realize so there's fasting, which I take more as like a intentional, I'm not eating from X time to X time. And then there's time restricted feeding. And
Mhm.
time restricted feeding is used more in the people I gravitate towards. And it's more
Mhm.
so of saying, okay, after 7, I'm just going to like not eat because it's within bedtime. And studies show that if I don't eat within 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, my sleep actually improves.
Mhm.
And we tend to gravitate towards more, or we'll say less nutrient dense foods at that time, anyways. But if you're saying, okay, I'm not going to eat past 7 until 6, that is a 11-hour fast per se, but
Mhm.
you're also sleeping through half of it. So you're kind of already fasting. You just are not
Right.
using the term I fast, right? But
Mhm.
and a lot of times, and that goes into my second point of these fasting and like cortisol promotions are really playing on the kind of like the top problem when the bottom problem is actually there. Right. So
Mhm.
like we talk about, so for example, binge eating, right?
Mhm.
Binge eating is the reflection of what's happening behind the scenes.
Right.
And so when they're talking about like, you've got high cortisol if you have these symptoms, and it's like, well, at any point, most women have had most of those symptoms. But if we backtrack, like, yes, we had high cortisol, but if we do the things that you're talking about here of like monitoring our stress levels, taking care of our nutrition, and making sure our exercise is within realm, then the cortisol issue would be taken care of. You don't need a band-aid for the cortisol.
Right.
You need to work on the things that we talk about in our coaching program and on this podcast.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like when I took some of these notes from my menopause training that I just
Uh-huh.
recently did. And it really just comes back to basics. And I know we say that all the time, but like I can't reiterate like how many times that those basics of feeding yourself enough, not doing too much, like just everything
Right.
we've kind of said this whole episode, that if we're not doing that, we don't need to get a hormone supplement. We don't need to do this fasting program.
Right.
We don't need to do this fucking keto. You need to treat your body the way it's been designed to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And do that for a prolonged period of time. And tell me if you feel better. And guess what? When you're managing your cortisol levels for that 3 to 6 months or whatever time frame you need, we might not be losing weight. We might not be whatever. But in an effort to get our bodies to a place that it will allow us to do that eventually, we've got to take that time with the foundations.
Right.
And we can't say it enough. I know it sounds repetitive. Why? Because it's the truth. So
this goes back to what was our episode that came out today? We caught
the detoxes.
Yeah, detoxes, schmeetoxes. It comes in the same. It's the same kind of thing, this promotion of something else when really there's an underlying root that's going on. So
interesting. One last question. Does anyone have a workout plan they'd like to share? This is in our Facebook group, like a 30-day thing or similar. And none of my coaches answered this person.
Really?
We have.
What day was it posted on?
August 29th. It's probably mine. It's probably mine.
I was like, hang on. Thursday.
We have our Mindset of Movement program that is fully well-phased, excuse me. It has a gym, a at-home dumbbell workout, a time crunch 3-day workout, and body weight and bands workouts. It is a 4-week program. Every 4 weeks, the workouts change, but you still have access to last month's program if you're someone who likes to do a 6 or 8 week phase of training. It is $29 a month. You get the first month at no cost to you, or for $1, excuse me, it's $1 now because of the way we set it up in the system. So it's $1. And it is exactly what you need to, whatever part of the program you decide is exactly what you need to build a banging body. So check out the link in our bio for the Mindset of Movement app. Other than that, I think that's all of our questions. Thank you guys so much for entering your questions. We'll continue to ask. So whatever you think, if you're just sitting there one day and you're like, oh, I wonder about this, come and ask us.
Yeah.
DM us on social media. You'll find the team at Mindset of Matter Coaching on Instagram. You'll find Amanda at fitbyamanda.az. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're welcome that I even put makeup on today. That is at The Mindset of Matter. And if you are interested in coaching with us, you can set up a clarity call with us below where you'll walk away with the next best steps to reach the goals that you want to reach in regards to your health, wellness, and relationship with your body and food. But if all else fails and you just want to walk away with this one bit of advice, we want you to remember one thing.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror. Goodbye.
Please.
43 minutes.
There you go.